Hi guys and girls, it's Pete, Mindwiseman's channel, aka Maverick Outdoors, and you can see just behind me over there is the Funkster, Darren Funky Prepper, and also Roach, Mike Armoured Cockroach, doing a bit of a promo for the Preppers Meet that's going to be at the beginning of October, but more about that later on. But here I am, ready to pitch up. I've had this since 2008, this camo tent. I've done some weather testing with it out in my garden and out on the field, but actually not literally out in the field, where I'm actually going to pitch it down there. So I parked in the car park up at Church Farm up there, and Funky brought us down in a truck, me and Safari Dog. Alright, gosh. And there's Armoured Cockroaches, bug out vehicle. So it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon on Saturday the 23rd of August 2014. So I'm going to get this unpacked. Okay, so I've got the basic framework of it set up with a fly sheet over the top. Obviously the front door's closed, but I'll show you in a minute how this comes up, and it's like an awning canopy which you can sit under, do your admin, have something to eat. See, there's guy lines at the back here as well, but I'm only here for the night. We're not in any real exposed terrain where there's going to be any real heavy wind, so that's enough. So I'm not going to fix these two back guy lines that would go off at an angle. Also, there's a side one here to give it a little bit more tautness, which would come over here. You can see it actually changing and getting a better shape, and that would come down to just there. Then of course the other side has got this guy line here, and obviously if that pulled out, we'll just give it that extra bit of tautness. But as I say, I'm only just here for the night, so that would fix down there if I was going to fix them. But you can see one on either corner, one in the middle, and the same over that side as well. Okay, so now you can see I've got the main door, which was zipped down there, and opened it up. 2 basher poles. There's a bit of an awning canopy. Separate little ground sheet. So if I did close this down, you're still protected from the ground if it was wet or anything untoward. So again, this is sort of like separate, just on its own. So now what we'll do is we'll go inside. You see, there's the outside. It's like a bath tray, built-in ground sheet, plastic. So unless it gets pierced, there's no chance of any water ingress, like sometimes sort of like nylon material. This is 2000 hydrostatic head waterproof nest. Sometimes the ground sheets that are built into a lot of tents will be the same sort of material, but a much better quality. Up to 5,000, some even 10 for more expensive tents. But this, obviously, it's a little bit more weighty, being this sort of plastic. But unless it gets pierced, this is totally waterproof. As you say, a little bath tray. So, laying down, and as I sit up, plenty of sitting room. As you can see above my head, sitting on the floor. Little pocket on the side, but it's the normal sort of thin material lining with a fly sheet. D-shaped door. You can roll that up, and it's got the little toggle where you can roll it up and it can fasten and keep it open. And there's Daz setting up his hammock. And there's Karsha sniffing any remnants of where Roach was just making some scones just now. So as you can see, there's space for 2 people to sleep in here quite comfortably, but I must be just slightly off centre. And I tend to, when I'm sort of lying down, I tend to have my kit to my left, because then my right arm here, it's easier to sort of manoeuvre my whole body onto my kit, rather than actually having it to my right. I just find it easier, so I can sort of turn and get to any bits. Pretty sure I'm going to put all my kit along here. A little bit of a tray here, so if it did swamp with any water, you know, you've got a good... Hello dog, you've got to jump over the top. gonna come inside? Coming in. Coming in. Free. Not used to being indoors, are you? This is like being indoors. Last time I was in a tent was when I did Brecon Beacons, November last year. Mountain tent, nearly got blown off the top. And this is the second time I've used a tent in over, wow, about 6 years. So, but because obviously the theme of this location is all to do with sort of bug out and roach, and the Funkster's been doing sort of a promo video for it, I just thought, yeah, I'd be a bit more sort of long-term base camp really. Here's some windows, so if I go just on the inside, just underneath the porch, I can unfasten the Velcro. I can roll that up and got a bit of daylight coming through if you want to, especially if what I'm using as the canopy shelter was closed. Then and there's one either side here. What really makes this porch as well is if this canopy was actually closed down. I've still got a little bit of space in here and just in that area, and if this was closed down I could open the side here, unloop that, maybe just have a side entrance. Obviously it's more awkward, but if I needed to be more self-contained and protected from the elements, then I could have this permanently closed down there, this shut, but then just have an entrance point just on the side here. But you see, this is fiberglass pole, as you saw previously, the X, to make the dome of the main structure of the tent, the main living quarters, and then the porch is pulled out, and then this one comes either side of the centre, which of course is just there, and that gives me a little bit more structure. Imagine if I didn't have this structure here. The dome would come down like this, and the door would open at an angle, either a D shape or an upright, but it's normally a D shape. But if you've got the door open and your door is at an angle, entrance to get in, you've got to keep it closed anytime it's raining. So the majority of tents that are made, dome-shaped tents, unless they've got some sort of extension porch to bring it out so that the porch is sort of like vertical, but a lot of the structure, as I say, will just sort of curve down the same as it is at the back. So just to make the perspective a little bit easier, this obviously is the back of the tent, but if it was the same either end, this would open here with a D-shape opening, but of course if it was raining, the rain's going to go in, alright, so keep it closed. So of course that sort of is only really going to be appropriate for just, you know, permanent shelter, and then you get out and unzip it when you're on the move. Little vent there, open that up, it's got a little bit of a structure here, as you can see, a little strut, which I can just put that on Velcro there, so that keeps a little arch, little ventilation there. So you can see in relation to where we all are, close to where Daz has now set up his basher, and he's got an upright in the centre to make it more of an umbrella type shape, which is absolutely spot on. But Roach is, Mike's only staying here till later on tonight because he can't stay overnight because he's got other commitments, so it's good to have him here because he's made us some scones which are cooking in that pot just there that's on the flames. Okay, my old faithful rucksack, strapped to the lid, is I think it's just under 200 grams. I've had this for a long time, but since I've been using the small military inflatable, this is full body length, which I'm going to put underneath my inflatable 3/4 body length, folding stop. In the lid, I've got my waterproof trousers and poncho, cooking kit in there, first aid kit in there, little utility bag here, sort of like a response pouch. Got a fire starting kit in there, pair of binoculars in there, other bits and pieces, light sundries, lighting for inside. But what I've got in the lower compartment here is just one sleeping bag, a 3-season, because I'm not going to be donning my softy trousers and jacket, because obviously I'm in a tent, so I'm less exposed to any chill factor, so I can just sort of take my boots off, put my thermal socks on, and just wear my clothes, maybe just this, inside the sleeping bag, which is really going to be warm enough because of course I'm not under a tarp. But I'll show you some of the other bits and pieces in a moment. Okay, so I've just been unpacking some of my rucksack, kettle. So always repeat, but someone, if I don't say it, someone's going to say, oh, what kit did you take? What food? A couple of cartons of drink, got the mess tin there in case I want to fry anything up just for backup. Drink stuff in there, the flapjacks, some homemade flapjacks I made in there with some oats that I gave to the lads, biscuits, some bread for toast tomorrow, all my food's in there, brew kit is in the box. Okay, this isn't an ultimate theme of sort of prepping as such, but you know, in a prepping SHTF scenario, when you've got all your kit, you know, you want stuff that can actually weather the storm. So normally I might bring my brew pouch, which I really like, my leather pouch. It's really nice and sort of rustic and tactile, but you know, for sort of practicalities and hard wearingness and protecting from the elements, dampness and that, I've got a brew box here instead of my brew pouch. And again, the theme of sort of like prepping, not only have I got the gas, it's a little one-man stove, single stove, but I've also got my Hexamin stove there full of hexy blocks. On a sort of prepping theme, I wouldn't really need anything too sort of, let's say, long-range time, because, you know, with the bug-out vehicles, there's much more technical stuff the guys have got. So, you know, if this sort of failed, we know we've got the firelight, or else whatever's in the bug-out vehicles, Mike's, Armoured Cockroach, or Daz, Darren Funky Prepper. There's more sort of hardcore kit that would be utilised for prepping in comparison to, say, some of the stuff that I've got here. So this is sort of for my little base camp, basically. Hello, dog. And any other sort of more long-term bits of kit would come out of the bug-out vehicles. But my sleeping bag is just in the bottom of this. Took up all of the bottom section, so as I said, just a 3-season sleeping bag, just virtually wear what I've got in the sleeping bag rather than sort of loads of thermal layers, because of course I'm not under a tarp. So there we have it, my shelter for the night. 5-star accommodation in comparison to what I'm normally used to. Tarps and ground sheets, but earlier that's the fire where Roach kindly made this massive great scone. And let's have a little walk over here, obligatory footprint walking, stomping in the shot to the back of his bug-out vehicle. I mean, look at that, freshly baked in that. Real outdoors cooking. Who says you can't do what people expect to do maybe indoors in the kitchen, and it tastes and even better outdoors? So we're going to have some of that, but I'm going to get a brew on the go now.
Very light. There's a lot of air in the scone itself. Obviously, the beautiful natural organic jam is priceless.
My mouth is watering watching Roach. I don't know if you caught that. Unbeknown to me, there's actually jam in it. But he said what would actually work really well would be a knob of cream on it. Oh, oh cheers, buddy. Spot on. Oh, what? Yummy. Oh, that is quality. Absolute quality. Close up of that. Scone with jam cooked out on the field. Courtesy of Armoured Cockroach. Thank you very much. All good stuff. Okay, we procured some more firewood. Just been sitting around having a little casual chat really, just linking up, the three of us sitting around a fire on that massive great big log settee. The temperature's dropped a little bit, it's now just gone 8:30 in the evening. You can see it's a bit more dusky, so we're going to go for a little walkabout and make something to eat in a little while, just sort of spend half hour seeing what's around. There's a few other people actually, some younger guys and girls that are over that direction that have set up a little overnighter in these woods. So we'll be back to the fire space when it's roaring a few more flames a little bit later. Just went for a little walkabout, and obviously it's got a bit darker now. But we got back and Roach had
and even just looking at that is
got the fire going for us.
Yeah, baby.
And it's got prime front stall seating area for the big performance.
Want some marshmallows now, mate?
And just chilling by the fire, nothing better.
Perfect.
Nothing better. Everything is pranayama.
No.
Okay, Carl, she's just having some dog food. You can just see on the inside of the doorway. I've got the butane gas single burner, and now what I'm gonna have is beef stroganoff from the British Army issue ration 24-hour pack, 24-hour ration pack, and this was kindly given to me by, was from Russ of Contact Right 07. So thanks to Russ, thank you very much, mate. And here's a picture of the whole of the ration pack on display. So I've just emptied the beef stroganoff out of the packet.
Nice.
Yeah. And to go with it, I've got some microwavable rice, which obviously is already cooked, so that's a normal thing. You'd have seen that sort of thing before. But if I don't include it, someone's going to say, what yumminess did you have? Tin of sweet corn. I'll let Karsh have a little bit of that as well, so I'll actually add that into there once that heats through a bit. Karsh eating some little bit of sweet corn. So I've added the rice in there and the sweet corn on top of the beef. So it's just slowly cooking because I don't want it to burn to the surface of the mess tin. But it's looking good, really ready to eat this. Get that down my throat, replace some calories, burnt off from a little walk around, especially the fresh air. There's nothing better than eating and cooking outdoors. Absolutely pranayama. There we go, it's all nicely heated through. Look at that. Spot on. That is really good. Nice and warm. To counteract the slight freshness that's in the air. But I'm now going to go and sit by the fire. It's looking really nice and cosy. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to traipse over there with the food and the dog. Alright dog, camping safari dog. And sit around the fire and finish eating my food.
Does it go, Pete?
Yummy. There's Karsh looking at yours.
Yeah,
We've got the ambience of the lamp.
Yeah, none of that, sweetheart.
And the fire. Roach left a little while ago. He's got other commitments, got to get home, so he left about 9:30, 9:45. So it's just me and the funkster. Dazzy Boysy. Just sitting at the fire about 10:30. Coming up to. A few aircraft flying over.
Yeah, they're bugger off soon, mate, I expect.
Yeah. But the ambience being that slight freshness in the air, the breeze, the little chill factor that was earlier has actually died down. So less of the weather forecast. More getting this food down our throats. Absolute quality sitting outdoors. Just relaxing, being in the moment.
Just right, mate, isn't it?
Yeah, spot on, mate.
Not too hot, not too cold. No rain, sorted.
Yeah. Quality.
Oh, wow.
It's good, isn't it?
I'm so impressed with the grub they get these days, man. That's fucking stunning.
Dad's coincidentally had the same stroganoff as me from the IMRE pack. So we're both experiencing the same food and flavours. Nice one.
There's lots of buds in there and all, isn't
Yeah. It's nice creamy gravy solution, the whole of the recipe's in there, isn't it?
Oh, that
Nice
really
one.
is top drawer, mate. That's lovely.
So although you can't see the whole of the space we're in, you can still savour.
Outdoors, isn't it, mate?
Yeah.
Outdoors with one of my oppos.
Yep. Two of the original crew. Quality. Pranayama. Good morning. It's now Sunday morning at 9:10, and waking up to just the view of the pattern of the camo through the white liner of the inner tent, which is a first for many years. You alright, dog? Yeah, you okay? Yeah, have a little stretch. Oh, hello, good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Oh, I see. You're gonna come right on me, are you? Oh, right. You're alright, dog. Oh, I see. You're comfortable, are you? Okay, I'll carry on. Alright, doggy. Daisy. Right, you just lay down there. That's it. And I'll carry on. Roach left about about 9:30, 9:45, because he had other family commitments to get back to, but it's really great to see him last night, you know, sitting around the fire and having a chat and what have you. And after we'd made something to eat, blimey, we were sitting up and chatting till I think we settled about 3 o'clock in the morning. Just time really just flew. Sitting around the campfire as you do each time when you're outdoors, in the moment, enjoying the fresh air, the clear sky, starry sky was really lovely. I'll sit myself up. Well, I thought I'd have a bit of luxury, a bit of comfort this time. Well, luxury for me anyway, having this cellular foam mat underneath my 3/4 length inflatable sleep mat, military army issue, Brit army issue, which I say you've seen loads of times before. But I had this sort of like double thickness, which I don't normally do. And up until about, must have been about 5:30 in the morning, I wasn't in the sleeping bag. I just had my clothes on, and it was quite comfy. Obviously the temperature inside the tent was much different from being under a tarp, because of course you've got the fresh air all around you, which I prefer. I like to wake up like now. When I heard a wakey from Darren about half hour ago, he woke up, and we were both actually coincidentally waking up around about the same time. Obviously I sort of like looked up and I can sort of see the sun, which obviously is around that area, so of course it's shining through here. It's nice that the internal bit of the tent is white, because it's as neutral as possible to get at least a bit of the camo pattern. Waking up to that view, considering normally I'd have the outdoors surrounding me. But yeah, it was a nice experience just to be in the tent. Sort of more protected from the elements bug out scenario, you know, if it was going to be long term, sort of small base camp within a larger bug out base. Yeah, the tent would do the job. So I've had this tent since 2008 and not actually used it in practical terms out in the field. Like I said yesterday, just did a couple of tests with it out in a field, but not overnight, just leaving it and doing a couple of weather tests, and I knew it was all hunky-dory for that, but not actually using it over a 24-hour period where I was sleeping outdoors, you know, away from being off the grid, so to speak. But that little camo torch there, it's a torch and a lantern made by Rav Power. I've yet to do a review on it because I've been testing it for the past 3.5 months, seeing how it stores its power. It's got a USB little plug there and a lead, but as I say, I'll go through it a little bit more elaborately when I do a separate review on it. But I've been using this now for about 3.5 months and I'm well impressed with it. The ambient light that comes out of that part, it does close, as you can see there, and then you can actually utilise it as a torch. It comes with a carabiner, but I'm well impressed with that. The ambient light that comes out, it's not just like a sort of a laser beam of light, it just all radiates out. That's about like a 15-watt bulb, I'd have thought, comparable to when I actually did some internal indoor tests with it in my living room and bedroom with a 20-watt bulb, which was just a little bit brighter than that. But for outdoor use, it's a great bit of kit. But the experience of being in the tent, yeah, it was pretty novel. Yeah, it was good. I did miss waking up and not seeing the trees around, and Dad shouted over earlier and said it's a lovely sunny day. So yeah, that was a bit different. But I'll just show you an aspect of the door, the D door. D door, as in, obviously it's reversed, but that's the shape of the letter, and it opens on the curved part with the upright, which would be the hinge point. But it obviously opens, as you can see. I can now put my hands through it and get into what I had as the porch area. But I'll just close that up again. But then it's got another zip on the inside, whereas if I open it fully, that comes away, which is the same material as the outside fly sheet of the tent. I can roll that up, that can be out the way, but that's mesh. So it's still a mozzie net, so I could have all of the outside porch open if I wanted to. The front, what I call the front lid, which I had as a canopy porch with 2 basher poles on either corner, I could have that open and I could see the daylight through there, but I'm still protected by this mozzie net. But if I want to seal it up like I slept with it, that's back to being more enclosed and protected from any wind chill factor or any cold element from the weather that's outside. So yeah, all good stuff. And it was, I bet she was sport for comfort. Yeah, because you was inside, weren't you? So that was even more comfortable and more conducive for you, feeling nice and warm, because obviously we're inside a tent. But the sleeping bag, so you've seen this used before. I don't use it a lot of the time because my technique tends to be, I like to be up and ready for action if anything were need be for me to have to get up emergency during the night and then have to not put loads of clothes back on. So I normally have my softy trousers, softy jacket over my clothes, then in a sort of 2-season sleeping bag. But I thought, well, you know, there's not going to be any emergencies here. This was a test. It was a bug out review that Roach and Funky were doing for the prospective Prepper Camp Out Bushcrafty meet, the Preppers 250, which is going to be in October. So meeting up with them, just sort of chew the cud and have some outdoors time. My approach to this camp out for the 24 hours was a little bit more sort of bug out scenario, so to speak, rather than sort of leisurely tarp. Obviously I can use tarps and all other bits of shelter kit to bug out, but if you're talking long term, your shelter needs to be a bit more secure than just a sheet of plastic covering you from the rain, and then you're exposed to the elements 360 degrees. So that was my point of just this weekend. But say I used the sleeping bag as a pillow, which was really comfy. And when I sort of woke up about, it must have been about 5:30, and my legs were just a little bit of a chill factor, enough to sort of make me not be able to relax to sleep properly. I thought, I was sort of half asleep thinking, yeah, I need to keep my legs warm. But this sleeping bag is so good as a pillow. So eventually I got the sleeping bag out of its bag, just that one, and cocooned myself in it. So yeah, it was all good stuff, nice and comfy. A real proper little mini base camp bug out scenario, and all went well. But back to RAV Power, RAV, RAV Power, that make these lanterns. They also make, which I originally got prior to the lantern, was this torch. And I'll just press that button there. But it's got a little button there, just where the little USB connection is. But at the moment, that is charging up my phone. So it speaks for itself. This is a power unit, but it's also a really good torch. So at the moment that's charging up my phone, but I'll do a separate review on that as well. And that'll go back into my little utility bag, safely out of the way, where I've got any technical gizmos, so to speak, torches, light units, anything that I might call sort of electrical gizmos or any sort of power units goes in this bag. Like I said, it's got my firelighting little kit in there, my binoculars. So anything, if you want to call them, this is my technical bag, so I know everything that's in there. Proper daylight and fresh air.
Morning, sweetheart.
Morning, wonderful. Morning, Super. That was a Monty Python, wasn't it? Morning, Super. Morning, wonderful. Okay, so there's that window that I opened. You can just about see what's inside. But the other side, the actual section, side triangular panel, I kept open and wedged on the inside, just inside there. So if I needed to, and I wanted to be protected from the elements, and I was based inside there to stay sheltered and protected, I could still cook with a small primer stove, just where the mat is, but I've got a good ventilation draft of fresh air, so it's not dangerous for sort of carbon monoxide, which you might get, you know, sort of toxic fumes, all that sort of thing, and just general safety of having that bit open. Obviously it's a bit awkward to get in and out, but I could do on all fours and have this always closed, as you see it there. So that's just another aspect of how I'd improvise and use it, so I could be self-contained, protected, nice and safely and comfortably enclosed, but still with that element of fresh air at the side. Obviously if the wind was blowing in that way, at that broad side, then I'd close that one and open this side. So you know, just adjusting it to the circumstances. But you can see the guy lines here, I replaced these, all of the guy lines, with paracord, because they were all fluorescent white. So that was originally, all of them were a fluorescent white, but I didn't want that. And also the little sliders, which help to shorten or lengthen and create tension on the guy lines where my finger is there, they were originally silver, so I replaced them with black. So obviously if you wanted a bug out stealth mode, you want the least amount of things to draw people's attention to you, so hence getting rid of any sort of bright colours. But the only thing, oh no, I've been sussed. There's a red mark. Oh god, people can see that from miles away. That is, you can see there's another red colour there, so you just know, if you're doing it quickly, at least you know the bit that's got the tape on it fits on this dome porch, because it's obviously shorter than the ones that are doing the main body of the tent crossing over the dome. So basically it's just colour recognition, so you can just look at that straight away and you know it's going in there. And if someone else were actually pitching it up that's not pitched it up before, they'd have the basic knowledge of putting up the tent, but would know straight away that the two poles that are the same without any colour markings on are the main structure of the tent, and the one with the two little red tabs either end is for that arched porch. I got it off eBay in 2008. It was a present from a good friend, and in all it cost me, I think it was £32 was the actual, it wasn't an auction, the cost price, and £5 postage. So that whole unit was £37 in 2008, and I don't know if these are still made. Now and then I've internet searched the manufacturer, the style, all different words that would relate to a camo tent, and I've not come across them for about the past 3 years at least. So if you're after one, you might need to hunt high and low. That's if they still exist and they're still made. Oh, what you see, you can smell something. Yeah, something's interesting over there. Daz has been getting the fire going. I'm going to go and procure some wood in a moment, but we've just decided, thought, right, okay, we've got a bit of time, it's a lovely day, so why not cook breakfast on the fire rather than, you know, our little stoves, which are always at a backup. Good bit of prepping. Say, my sort of preppy, little bit of philosophy just to this 24 hours was not just having that, but like I said, having the Hexi stove as well, just in case I needed it, or for like quickness, I can actually be cooking up or boiling 2 things at once if circumstances dictated. But I'll just use that. So just a little bit of prep, bug out ideas behind it. But of course, like I was saying yesterday, you know, with the bug out vehicles, there's much more kit and facilities that you can have. So if there's a few of you at a base camp, I mean, that's my own personal little bit of space with all my backup kit. But if you're working together as a group, then you know, with the bug out vehicles, there's far more high-tech bits of kit that you'd be relying on and sharing with each other as well. So, but back to the, just quickly back to the tent. You can see I've rolled up the front, and I'm leaving this. This is how it's going to be for the rest of the day. If I was going to be here for another night, the difference being with a tent is obviously you're protected from the elements much better than a tarp. But as far as all little creepy crawlies and insects, once they get in, it's harder for them to get out. They're obviously inquisitive, and this is their territory anyway. But at least when you're under a tarp, like as what Daz has got over there, at least, okay, so he's off the ground, which is even better away from the critters and the bugs. But if they get disturbed, they can go from the space that's surrounding where your setup is. But a tent is totally different. Once the insects are in there, they're staying in there. But I'm not too concerned about that, because obviously I'm not sleeping here again another night. It was just the one night last night. So when I go to strike down camp, I'll be just sort of shaking it out, getting rid of the dust and just trying to shake out whatever insects are in there. But obviously if I was here another night, I would shut it all up, especially the D door, the internal 2-layer mozzie screen and the nylon covering as well. I would shut that up, so there's far less chance of ingress from creepy crawlies. But I ain't bothered about it. But when I did actually settle last night, there were a few over the white in a tent, and I saw what looked like a sort of small bee. So I just opened up and sort of ushered it out and said, "Do you mind leaving, please? You're not a member, so you're not coming in." So you got a nice bed of coals, did you say?
Sure is, mate.
Nice one.
I think it's worthwhile, you know, really building up all of the twigs. Just keep adding and keep adding, so you end up with more coals. Because what's happened before is I've done it, but I haven't put enough on, let it cool down, and the coals are insufficient for the cooking time you're going to do.
Yeah.
So when you're halfway through cooking, it's just not enough heat.
That's smoking. And that's steaming. Nice. Chocolatey coffee brew. Right, just for convenience, we'll put some bread on the toaster disc. Daz now is poaching an egg in his little poaching saucepan. Okay, that was taking a bit too long, so we're just gonna, as you can see, that was nearly done on the toaster, but that's about an inch away from the coals, and as soon as it starts to smoke a little bit, it's really more vapour where the bread's drying out, and I bet, look at that, hasn't even been there for 10 seconds and it's toasted it. And then just bringing it, oh, hang a minute, just hold it there for about 10 seconds. You saw that was white, nearly there, another 10 seconds ish. And that's a darn sight quicker than using the toaster on the Primus. Look at that, spot on toast, didn't take 20 seconds. Yeah. Quicker than the latest electric device you have in your kitchen. Bring it on, smoking.
Oh look!
Wow, oh. Nice little poacher. There's the bacon going there with some sunflower oil. Dad's put his in a little bit before and that's looking well edible, look at that. Just on the coals, just the right temperature not to burn it. And stick it to the base, keep it moving, yeah, so it cooks through evenly. Toast is buttered, the eggs are frying, cow's mooing in the background somewhere. Just brought the bacon, although it's now cooked, just slightly off the coals so the majority of the oil stays into the surface area where you can see the eggs. So the bacon's just keeping warm without overcooking or sort of drying out. I'm just judging the right amount of coals and the size of them to get just a nice gentle fry. So those eggs, when I've drained off the oil, won't be really sticking to the pan because you're just regulating the heat and making sure you use the right coals. Just like I said when I did the canoe wild camp a few weeks back. It's just judging the fire coals the same as you would do the temperature gauge and controls of your oven or anything else you cook with in your kitchen. And there ends today's yumminess sermon. And so you don't have to turn the eggs, just letting all the oil congregate one end of the mess tin and letting it roll over the top, and you can see it's getting rid of the little raw bits that tend to stay on top of the yolk. But that's going to be going down my throat and replacing the calories it took to film all this cooking food. Here we are in 5-star accommodation. Yeah, canopy of the trees, right in line with the sun that's cascading down on the smoky embers of the fire. Food ready, and I can't think of any real better type of outdoor environment to be, isn't it, eh? Having something to eat, fresh air, sunny Sunday, quality yumminess time with the icing of pranayama. Okay, I'm starting to pack away now, so I'm just getting on with it. It's a good idea to get, you know, things that you know are going to be separately packed. This is all my outdoor kit, so that will all stay within the same area, the way it's going to be packed. My catering food stuff, that's dirty, I don't need to wash it out, so I'm just going to put that in a carrier bag similar to that and just wrap that up so I don't have to wash it because it's not being used again, so that will be all cleaned up when I get home. Any of the food that's left, so all my catering food stuff is all in one area, so I know where it is. And then previously I just started to get me dirty clothes, that will be put in another bag ready to be washed when I get home. All my sleep kit, so everything is all sort of sectioned off. So as I pack it away in the rucksack, everything is just easier and more organised to literally be packed away. And then once that rucksack's all kitted up, I'll strike down the tent. Yummy. Yeah. Was that good? Was that good? Okay, sit down. Sit down then. Sit. Give me your because you know I was going to say paw. Give us your paw then. Give me your paw. And the other one. And the other one. And the other one. Ah, Mars bar. Oh, this is my treat.
Yeah! That's Roach's little gift, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Thank you, Mars bar time.
That wasn't consumed last night, as Dad's just threw it over like a flying ballistic missile. Yeah, it's called a SRAM. Oh, sorry, straw. Have you seen these straw bars before?
Why is it called that?
Okay, as you can see, I've now packed up the rucksack. The tent is now empty. I'll turn the inside part of the tent inside out when I actually take it down. But as you can see, I'm now striking down the shelter. But it's a good idea. Same as I was saying, inside your tent or inside your basher, your shelter, you know, everything all compartmentalised. You know where your cook kit is, you know where your clothes are prior to packing when you're storing it inside your shelter or basher. And then of course when you're striking down, especially your basher here, I've got, or should I say the tent, you know, just being organised. I know everything's going to go in this bag. I've got everything else that's going to go in this bag ready. The basher poles are out of the way. The tent peg bag here, the bag that's going to have all the fiberglass poles. Good idea to have them out of the way of your working space that you need to move around, just like I've actually taken the ground pegs out from this outside fly sheet. As you can see, it's now loose, so I'll be taking that off in a moment, unfastening it to where it ties internally to the actual fiberglass poles. It really is stating the obvious, really, just sort of being safe. But the day you don't think about it is the day you tread something out, you buckled the basher pole, you split the fiberglass pole, so it's just everything. And as you do, get into a method. I've unpegged the fly sheet. I've then put all the pegs in the bag. I'm now going to start to unfasten it, and then as I get each bit, so things aren't left on the ground, you forget where it is, you lose it because you've left it on the ground and rushing around. Especially if it's raining and the weather's bad, you're going to be in a different mindset. So it's always good just to get into the habit of being organised. Everything where you know, as you take each thing from its place of situ within the shelter, just being organised. And again, it's all going to go over here, then I know I'm not going to lose anything. It's all going to have some sort of regulated system to it. And when you get used to that, you know, it's no big deal, it's no mission, you just do it automatically and naturally. And it just makes the job more efficient as well. So yeah, the first night out on the field on this little preliminary Preeper Meet, yeah, it did the job. I quite enjoyed it, although I missed waking up. And as soon as you open your eyes, you see all this. And for those that say, why don't you use a tent rather? Why do you use a tarp? And this is one of the reasons why. And if you're warm enough and you can stay dry, then that's the reason. And you feel as free. The safari dog just sniffing around as and where she wants to, but obviously where I can see her. Okay, just a bit of a close-up where you can see the hook fastenings went onto the fiberglass poles to keep it suspended and in shape. But just a little tip you might already do, but sometimes people don't really think about it, where the outside fly sheet is then attached just gently so that you don't block it from sliding. You get an idea of where it is central, where it's going to overlap, and then you know within an inch or so exactly where you're going to tie the fly sheet to keep the shape and tautness, if you use the guy lines, within the whole shape of the tent. Is tie it underneath. So you can see here I have just a normal, like a shoe tying your lace type knot fastening. But as I now just undo that single reef, you can see it was underneath it, and I was working to the top to then tie the shoelace type of fastening. It's very easy to have it over the top, and then you sort of struggle to try and wrap it round over the top and then behind it. And what tends to happen, it sort of gets twisted, and sometimes it won't come round. So always start off by having where you can see the taped seam of where the stitched join is to bring whatever fastening round the back of it, and then know that you're starting off tying the knot to keep the shape and structure safe and sound and effective from underneath, then over the top of the surface. Just makes it easier, especially when you go and do it. So again, it is stating the obvious, but I must admit I've struck down people's tents in the past on their behalf, or just helping out with a job in question, and it's been really awkward to strike it down because any fastening knots have been attached over the top to then underneath, so then the knot sort of goes underneath the pole, as I explained previous. So I mean, it sounds a bit pedantic, but it's just having a positive approach and specific technique just to do that, and then everything, again, you can see that underneath, and then tie it on like that. It's a good idea as well when folding it up to know how you're folding it up, so when you unfold it, if it's dark or the weather's bad, you've got a pretty sort of good mental image of how it's going to unfold. So as you unfold it, you can put it straight on top of the dome shape of the tent, or whatever structure type of tent. So I've actually folded it in half. There's the back end, there's the front end. Then I'm going to close the two together so I know the front end opening is inside. Then I'm just going to fold it in half again so it's easier to fold up. And just fold it up tidily so it's going to fit the shape of the bag. But as I unfold it, I know when I get to the last second two unfolds, the centre door is on the inside. So I know as I unfold it, I'll bring it in situ with the door of the inner tent. Bob's your uncle, Fanny's your aunt. And now I know that's the right shape and length that's going to fit the length of the bag. And of course the same process when folding up the inner tent, but always it's advisable to do up all the doors first before you fold it, so then when you put it up everything's in its right shape. Because if you actually structure the tent and put it up, when things like doors are open or anything that can be open or unfastened is not fastened and secure, it will actually distort the shape. Then when you want to zip up the doors, there's too much pull on it, stretching it, and the zips won't do, or they'll strain or break. So it's just literally a really good idea to just have a system, be organised, have sort of plan, so you know where everything is. So when you get used to it, it's just second nature. It's no big mission to have to think, oh hang on a minute, am I doing this? Because it's just like walking. You don't think about it, you just do it. So like I said, I turned this inside out, shook all the gunk, any little insects, then turned it back in, zipped it up, gave it a shake, got its shape. But like I was saying, folding it up so you know when you fold it in relation to the curves, the bends, the folds, you know what's inside the folds to know where the entrance is. So as you unfold it, even before you see it, you know where the actual door is. And like I said with a fly sheet, as I unfold that, I know even before I'm halfway through unfolding it, exactly the direction and position of where the door's going to be. So I'm going to do the same with this. Just teaching it to suck eggs really. Folding it in half. So I know that when I get to this end, from the folds that are going to follow, the sort of pressure where it's kept the folds in it, I know when that folds inside, when I unfold it, the door's there straight away. So it's pretty simple stuff really. So I fold it underneath there, and I know it's going into the shape, as I said with a fly sheet. As you're folding it, it's taking up the shape of the bag. So you know it's not going to be any sort of unrolling it again. You've got the image of the sizes, the shapes, and just fit it in. So it's like a big bushcraft Rubik's Cube. Thank you. Okay, Daz has just finished off the LNT. The ground's really cooled down, it's wet, it's all appropriate just to cover over bits of grit and grime. And that's where the tent was. All sorted, all ready to go. Sort of just a small group of people before the big event and all that sort of thing, and it's nice just to sort of be really laid back. I say, and Daz and Roach Mike were here to sort of do a recce and prepare, and then the website that Darren's organised to go live, so you can get information from that, so it's all good stuff. So the weather's really held off, it's been really nice. So we're ready to leave now, and it's about 3:30 in the afternoon on Sunday. So yeah, it's been a nice bit of chill time. So we're now ready for the off. So I'm sitting in the back of Darren's bug out 4x4, ready to go. Karsh is watching some people that camped out overnight there. It's a little celebration birthday group. They decided to camp out in the woods, and some of them practicing their bushcraft skills, out interested in outdoors activities and that sort of thing. So, as always, thanks for watching, and catch up in another video soon. Cheers, take care.